Hey everyone, it's Jonathan, and welcome back to Wonderland Wednesday. Today we're continuing our conversation with Sam and Jenna of the Curiouser Archive and getting into the main topic of our discussion, missing versions of Alice in Wonderland. Lost media is something that I've been interested in for years now, ever since I discovered it was possible for movies and TV to just completely disappear. I guess when I was a kid, I probably just assumed that everything was recorded and saved with purpose, kept in some studio vault somewhere. I had no idea that things could deteriorate past the point of being watchable, or just be completely destroyed or misplaced or never found again. And then when I started looking into versions of Alice in Wonderland, I discovered that there were a lot of versions that were now just completely lost. And since getting to know Jenna and now Sam, I figured it would make for a really interesting discussion to talk about all these missing versions. This conversation was originally recorded to be a podcast episode of every version ever, but when I decided to bring back Wonderland Wednesday for the summer, I knew I had to use it for this series. So for the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about lost or missing versions of Alice in Wonderland. I decided to split this up roughly by decade, so for this first episode we're focusing on the 1940s, but we're starting with one from the 30s. There are a lot of missing versions of Alice in Wonderland, which I didn't realize when I started doing this whole thing, but then I started looking into more, like, because on IMDb there's like listings for random 1950s televised versions, and you can't really find much info about them. And I think on Jenna's blog there was other ones where I think she just had them listed as missing or lost, and I've always been curious about those, like, what are these, why can't we watch them? So since you guys are the experts, I guess we'll just talk about all of the ones where none of us can actually watch.
Yeah, and I think it's also kind of interesting to discuss these things because it's kind of important for the preservation itself in case somebody does have information about where a copy might be. You kind of have to like spread the information about it for that to help. Though some of these are probably just gone forever.
Yeah, it's also interesting if we ever get like pictures or really any fragment of these adaptations.
I love
because
pictures.
Sometimes stuff like that is out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got these all written down in order, like from the dates.
Okay.
So I guess we'll start with the earliest one, which I guess you just had titled Theater Parade.
Yeah.
And it says all we've got is pictures. So what do you know about this one? This is from 1937.
So this one was probably performed live. Probably wasn't recorded because Kinescope, I mean, they were testing recording TV back then, but it wasn't a definite thing. You know what I mean?
This was very much in like the early years of television, or at least the early years of television when it started becoming widespread. Was a BBC production. I believe it was a theatrical production.
Yeah, it was a theatrical one where they just basically recorded it. It was also weird because it's like it was actually 3 productions throughout the year.
Right. They performed it 3 times throughout the year, and it was basically performed live on television.
Was the first one Looking Glass?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, it was. Sorry, my thing wasn't showing up. I had to refresh it. Yeah. Other than that, there's not much we know about this one. We do have some pictures. The one where Ursula Hanray is at a table with the kitten, I just stumbled across that on eBay. It was in an auction, so like we're kind of lucky to get that one. And the others are so tiny, I don't know where they come from. There's only one like decent big sized one. I do kind of like how the March Hare just has straw and he doesn't have ears.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I'll try and have, like, for people just listening on the podcast, I'll try and have these pictures in the video version. So if you go to YouTube, some of these that we're talking about, I'll try and include in the video.
Yeah. Other than that, that's really all we know about this version.
The other thing that's interesting is that it was produced by George Moore O'Farrell, and he produced a couple of other BBC adaptations later on as well.
Yeah, he likes Alice. I liked. Anyway, so and that's all we know. All we really know is apparently it was done with great success.
Okay. Well, the next one after that is 1944, and all we've got is some pictures left from that one as well.
This one is interesting because you might be aware of, oh my gosh, I'm gonna butcher her name. Eva Gallian? Oh my gosh. I butchered her name. I know I did. Sam, do you know how to say it?
Oh, I honestly don't know. I usually say like Galleon, but I don't know if that's correct.
Yeah. Well, she's the one who like kind of had her own Alice that she staged multiple times. But we do have some recordings of her in those productions. So like 1955 Hallmark and 1982 Great Performances, as weird as that one is. So 1944 was actually the first recording of this kind of Alice, except for she wasn't in it. So we kind of do know what it was like, at least. Other than that, it looks like a really small production, and it supposedly had television special effects, and
Right.
it's interesting. I wonder what special effects they had.
Right. This one aired on a local TV station, WRGB, in Albany, New York. Don't know if it aired anywhere else, but that's where it was produced at least.
Yeah. Probably not existing anymore if it was recorded, but I doubt it was because it sounds like it was a really small thing.
Probably. Okay. I feel like we're lucky to have the pictures that we have of it, honestly.
Yeah. I like how Alice looks. She looks, I don't know, for some reason it kind of reminds me of Dorothy.
I can kind of see it, honestly.
Yeah. And then we got some horrifying masks, so that's great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. These are pretty bad masks. Trying to think. Would these be the worst masks? And they're still better than 1933.
Only barely.
Yeah, sometimes with a lot of those older ones, there's a lot of questionable costume choices.
Yeah, that's kind of just how it is.
On the big picture we have to the left, there's like a duck. And I don't know, it reminds me of Donald for some reason. It looks like the Donald Duck, like the early Donald Duck costume. I know it's not because this was before that, but still. Just like, it's Donald in Wonderland. That's what great insight that I bring.
I am always going to see that now.
You're welcome.
That seems like it should be a cartoon they should do.
It kind of was a cartoon they did, but Donald in Mathmagic Land.
Yeah, I remember that. How much of that was Alice inspired, though? I feel like it was just the title, wasn't it?
No, there's a lot of it that's Alice inspired.
Really? I need to rewatch it. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, I recommend it. I don't think the whole thing is Alice, but they do have like a chessboard and him walking kind of in a Wonderland area, and he's even in an Alice dress at one point.
Interesting. Maybe that could be the subject of a podcast someday. The next one, all we have is pictures and the year 1946.
So this was a BBC one, and it's actually George Morrow Farrell again. So the guy who did 1937 did this one. And that's all we really know. We have a cast list, and that's it. We also have a really bad picture of Alice in like a lawn chair.
Yep.
And
so super book accurate.
Yeah, totally. Well, I guess they had lawn chairs like that.
Well, I'm guessing this isn't an actual photo of the production because like you can see a camera to the left of her in the picture. So I'm guessing this is like a photo off the set.
Well, I don't know. Like the camera's pointed at her. I think this, and it looks like she's in a garden set.
Oh, that
is part of it. And I say lawn chair, but it's more like kind of the traditional kind of lawn chair, like not like the plasticky kind. And I believe they did have those in Victorian times, but it is still a little odd looking.
Yeah, and that's literally all we have.
Yeah, we have like 3 different versions of this picture, and they're all like not great.
Yeah. They're taken from like different newspapers and magazines.
Yeah.
This picture apparently got published quite a bit.
Yeah, and it's the only picture I've been able to find of it, and I haven't been able to find like the original, so it's all been awful.
Yeah.
Well, you probably with that, have more information than on the next one because all it says is just some info for the 1948 version. So we don't even have pictures to look
Yes.
at for that one.
Right. This was another BBC version.
BBC liked Alice a lot.
Yeah, especially in this time period, it seems like they did Alice a lot in like the 40s and 50s. I believe this one included some Wonderland and Looking Glass stuff, just judging from the title.
What was the title?
It's also on Christmas. Oh, the title is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. Very comprehensive title. It was adapted by the Herbert M. Prentice play, which I don't know. I don't think that play has been recorded, actually, like in an adaptation.
Not that I'm aware of.
And I haven't been able to find any pictures of that one. When I try to look for it, I get 1949.
Yeah. I think possibly the other reason we have so many BBC versions in this list is just because we know about them. The BBC has done a very good job of making their listings from back then available to search through and look at, whereas for most companies, that's not really easy.
Yeah. I mean, there might be other like British productions that we don't know about.
At least you know they exist, because with a lot of like old BBC stuff has been erased. Like they would have recorded it and then they erased it to use the tape again. So
yeah, so that's a possibility with this one. I think. I just looked it up, but when were kinescopes in use at the BBC?
I think it would have been around that time, so it's possible that this one might have been recorded, but who knows?
If it
was, it doesn't seem to exist anymore. At least it's not listed in their catalog anymore.
That wouldn't surprise me, because there's a lot of stuff lost from the BBC's archives because they didn't save it.
I mean, that's the case with most companies from back then, because they just didn't see the stuff as valuable.
Yeah, reruns weren't a thing, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. This one actually was reran. It has 2 dates, December 25th, and then again on December 30th. Now, a lot of times when these old, like the earlier television programs we're talking about would have repeats, but they'd be done live too.
Right. And that was kind of the way that reruns worked a lot of the time back then. They would actually get the actors back in to perform it a second time.
Yeah, like, that's why a lot of them were like theater productions because of that. Because they already knew the play and could do it, they did it again a lot.
Right.
So this one's kind of curious though, because that could, if it was recorded, that could be the kinescope airing and not a live redo, but I'm not sure.
Unfortunately, we don't really know. There's no record that really tells us which way it was.
All right. I think we can move on to the next one, which...
That one's 1949, Through the Crystal Ball. Is that a show?
Okay, so this one is my favorite one of the missing Alice.
It's definitely interesting.
It's interesting. So it was kind of a weird, it's kind of experimental for the time period ballet program. So they did multiple, they had done multiple stories at this point. They were trying to like use television as a new medium instead of just like having, stage productions. They were like trying to, and then you just have the actors walk on screen, and they were trying to like use the medium of television differently, if you get what I'm saying. In particular, there's a quote, because we have some quotes about this one. Somebody involved in it, Pauline Kohner, said, "This is television," they said. "There are no side wings. You can enter from above, the corners, or beneath. It was a revelation. I put a ladder outside the camera focus. A dancer jumped from the top and entered from the top of the screen with a magical effect." So it was a bit more experimental. And we also know that not the full Alice story was adapted. They did like scenes. So it has the entry of the White Rabbit, where Alice shrinks, the Mad Duchess and her unfortunate baby, the Cheshire Cat, and the Mad Hatter's Tea Party, the croquet game, and a trial scene. And also this had Bambi Lynn as Alice, who was she was well known for playing Alice at this point. She'd done a lot of stage productions, particularly of Gallien's Alice. And she was also like a really good dancer. Unfortunately, this was like her only like recording, like visual recording. I think there is a record player with her doing Alice. But she was like, that was her thing. She played Alice a lot. So it's kind of a shame that the only like visual recording of her being Alice is gone.
Yeah. This was actually recorded back then,
Yes.
but unfortunately, as far as we know, the recording was lost.
Yeah. But it might still be out there. And this one I kind of love because it has Arthur Treacher as the Cheshire Cat. And I love Arthur Treacher. If anybody knows him, he's mostly a butler in films. But apparently he played the Cheshire Cat a lot in Stage Alice's. So he did this, and he also did 1955 Alice as the Cheshire Cat too. Both costumes are ridiculous. So we have a picture of him in costume meeting with a visiting celebrity. Like the man in our pictures is not in the production. His name is Dan Duria. I don't know him. I guess he was a big deal at the time. Not anymore. And Arthur Treacher is the Cheshire Cat, and he's like wearing a clownish costume. It's the most ridiculous costume.
It really looks awful. I'm not sure what the deal was with that.
Yeah, I'm sure he played it magnificently, though. I would love to see him in this too. But he does well. I think he did well in 1955, even though he was basically wearing a statue. His Cheshire Cat like comes across as more like no nonsensey, but in kind of a ridiculous way. And I don't know, I kind of like it.
Yeah, that's true.
So I assume he was similar here. And then we have a picture of the Duchess, but it's a very tiny picture. And Bambi Lynn with the baby, and the guy's gonna spank the baby.
Yeah. Pretty weird picture, but yeah.
The weird picture. Also, it's like obviously just a plain toy doll, like not a specialized prop, which I guess fair enough. I guess we can kind of see the background. It looks drawn. In one of the quotes, it does say like the guy asked the background artist for like Tenniel looking, which is weird because they have the Cheshire Cat looking like a clown, which is not Tenniel. But
yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, so I would love to see this one. If anyone finds it, give it to me. Thank you.
Thanks to Sam and Jenna for joining me for this episode. If you want more from them, I'll have their links in the description below. Next week, we'll be moving on to the 1950s in our exploration of lost Alice media, so we'll see you next time for another episode of Wonderland Wednesday. Thanks for watching.